Hello, BookTube. I'm in a new location just temporarily. I have a house guest, a demanding house guest for the weekend, who is asleep currently in the other room. So I'm out here filming, and I have a few more books to show you before I wrap things up and wake him up. And they come about because we were out and about today. We did all sorts of fun things. It was lots and lots of fun. And a couple of places we went to had books. So I got books, despite the fact that I'm trying to be more conscious of how many books I take into this place. I gave myself sort of an excuse, a flimsy excuse of saying that it was a special occasion because I have a guest. So I got a stack of books. I don't plan on keeping all of them, but they were so cheap and it was so much fun. The day was so much fun that it didn't feel right to just abstain. So I wanted to show you what I got today, and then I'll wrap things up to go and be a good host. And the first one is something I think we've seen on this channel before. I think I saw it. I showed it to you on a library tour, and then one of you piped up and said you'd really like a copy, so I sent it to you. And then I found another copy, and I like it. So I got it, even though it's a mass market paperback. It's the great Victoria Holt, whose historical novels, you have to read them to enjoy. They're wonderful. I don't think she'll ever be reprinted. I think her novels are gone. This one might be my favorite of all of her. She wrote hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books in her career under many pseudonyms. But this one is My Enemy, the Queen, about Lettice Knollys, about a lady-in-waiting to Queen Elizabeth who married against Queen Elizabeth's knowledge and against her permission with the Earl of Leicester, with no less than Elizabeth's sexual favorite, her work boyfriend, if you will. And it caused a storm of controversy. And Lettice Knollys is the frequent subject of historical fiction and a couple of biographies. And I love this book. I was sorry to see it go, but of course, if somebody asked me, for a book, unless it's something that's in close to my heart, I'm going to send it and just count on finding it again. It happened this time, so that's good. And another book that I got today is something that I've heard praised on Mark Richardson's channel, Richardson Reads. So when I saw it, I of course got it, but it doesn't seem like the kind of book that he would like. It's Master and Commander, but I don't know. There's just something about it that doesn't really say Mark Richardson. Maybe he has hidden dimensions. And then I found some penguins, of course, for Project Penguin. First one being Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I don't think I have much, or if any, Thomas Hardy in the Black Spine. I particularly like the Black Spine penguins that have the script writing instead of the block white writing, and I don't think I have much, if any, Thomas Hardy, so I was happy to get it. And then this next one, slightly battered, but I'll fix it up. This is The Fall of the House of Usher and Other Writings by Edgar Allan Poe, and it has quite a bit in it. It has The Fall of the House of Usher, yes, but it has, in addition to lots of poems and stories, it also has, I was very pleased to find out, a lot of essays and book reviews. Edgar Allan Poe was, in addition to being the father of American thriller writing and the father of American horror, he was also America's first fantastic book reviewer. So I'm very happy to see that the collection had, a wide variety of that. I could easily understand. Penguin Classics are often used for school, and so I could easily understand an editorial decision that would leave that stuff out. That stuff can't be of any interest to anyone except book reviewers. And then the third and last Penguin Classic I got was Ragged Dick by Horatio Alger, which I saw it and I was going to pass on it, and then I opened to the introduction, which is by Carl Bodie, and it starts, Horatio Alger, you look good to me. Stuns you, doesn't it? You yourself conceded that the higher walks of literature, as you put it, weren't your domain. But like you, I believe that literature, high and low, can teach us a lesson. In your bouncy little books for boys, you urge the merits of honesty, hard work, and cheerfulness in adversity. Nowadays, we could use much more honesty and hard work, and the only cheerfulness in adversity comes from the White House. It isn't very catching. You emblematized those qualities in your young heroes, who were all poor on the first page but prospering on the last one. Not that you turned them into top-hatted millionaires, as the Alger myth has it. Your slogan wasn't rags to riches, but more sensibly, rags to respectability. And that was the kind of progress your readers had a chance to make. My guess is that you were a good influence on the Gilded Age. It needed a touch of old-fashioned principle. That is wonderful. And that makes me want to read a Horatio Alger novel again. with fresh eyes. If somebody can be brought to think that about this author who I've dismissed my whole life, then I'm willing to try it too. And the next one is a Penguin, but it's not a Penguin classic. It's a Penguin UK trade paperback of a fantastic book that I had when it first came out, and I haven't had it since. This is The Sleepwalkers by Christopher Clark. This is his big book about a very oft-treated subject, which is how Europe walked its way into war, into the First World War. And a book about how the assassination of Franz Ferdinand led in the course of a month to all the nations of Europe being at war. And it digs deep, it asks really good questions, and also he has it's a stately but a very involving narrative voice, a very good telling of the story. And look at this compact little thing. It's wonderful. You know, I could swear that when browsing a book depository, I could swear that I have had my finger hovering over this thing to just get a copy brought here, and have just refused because I had other things to do, or because I thought, no, just email the publisher the next time Christopher Clark comes out with a book, and they'll send you a copy from the warehouse. But this was right there today, and it's well worth a reread. Haven't read it in years. The same thing is true for this next one. Haven't read it in years, and it is fantastic. It's An Unnecessary Woman by I always get this wrong. Rabi Alamedine. And it is an amazing book. What have we got for blurbs? The Wall Street Journal calls it irresistible, candid, and human. The New York Times says it is a meditation on, among other things, aging, politics, literature, loneliness, grief, and resilience. But blurb speak doesn't do it justice. This is an amazing story about a totally non-amazing woman. We just follow her through a portion of her life, and she gets to the bus stop too late, and she's thinking about books, and she's walking around thinking about writing, and she's thinking about books, and she has a few friends, and this is her life. And it has such an unprepossessing magic to it that you just, once you're 30 pages in and you realize, okay, that's what this book is. It isn't going to be anything else. It's not that she's, going to go undercover or learn karate or anything. This is what the book is going to be. Once you get to that realization, 30 or 40 pages in, you think, okay, well, then any minute now this is going to start to bore me, and instead it becomes more and more fascinating as time goes on. I was very happy to find it, and when I was looking through it, I saw this, a fox. I immediately thought, was this copy sent to the bookstore from Matthew at MCS Books? Is it, the fox is his totem? Was it his copy originally? Came all the way from England? I don't know. The next one is also a Penguin. I've had it before, and I don't know. I go back and forth on it. It's a beautiful, lovely thing. So I don't currently have it. So I got this. I got East of Eden by John Steinbeck in this beautiful Penguin classic with the deckle edges and the French flaps and the original art. Just because I don't currently have a copy of East of Eden, and I go back and forth on Steinbeck. I think his major and most lauded novels are so heavy-handed, just so incredibly heavy-handed. Once he got to the point in his life, not his earlier novels, his thinner novels aren't like that. They don't read like East of Eden or Grapes of Wrath at all. Once you get to those two titanic books, I swear that was the point in his career where he could do that move that never helps an author and never helps subsequent generations of readers either. That move where an author suddenly says, they look at their sales figure, they look at their bank balance, and they suddenly go to their publisher and say, oh, what I'm doing here is sort of beyond you. You just have to let me work, man. You just have to let me do what I'm going to do. In other words, a tacit declaration that they no longer want to be edited. And that never works well for an author. And so East of Eden and Grapes of Wrath, since I think that reeks off the pages of them, they've always bothered me as being just incredibly ham-handed. Although, I guess Of Mice and Men is a pretty short book, and I don't think you could find a novel that's more ham-handed than that. But I think there's an element of control in it that's missing from, for instance, East of Eden. And I've had so many Steinbeck aficionados tell me, well, yeah, okay, there's an expansiveness to these books that is nagging at the editor in you. but there's a magic in it too if you just pay attention to that, and that seems valid to me. So every time I find a really cheap, nice edition of Steinbeck, I grab it just on the chance that I'll reread it and love it. I'll just put this with the other Penguins, and the day will come. And then a couple of enormous trade paperbacks that I don't plan on keeping. The first one is a UK trade paperback that I think came from Germany, but it's English. It's written in English, and it was an enormous bestseller. It's a giant fat historical novel. It should be right up my alley. And yet I read it, and it did nothing for me, and then I read it again, and it did nothing for me. And it's one of those books where I have a positive disposition towards it, but no positive memories of it. It's weird. I don't know why some books affect me that way. This is A Cathedral of the Sea by Ildefonso Falcones. And it is in the 14th century Spain. The medieval city of Barcelona is enjoying a golden age of prosperity. Its humblest inhabitants are building, stone by stone, a magnificent church to overlook their harbor, the Cathedral of the Sea. The church to be built for the people and by the people. In its shadow, Arnau, a young serf on the run from his feudal lord, struggles to earn his freedom. After famine, plague, and thwarted love, Arnau's fortunes begin to turn when King Pedro makes him a baron in reward for his courage in battle. But he is forced to marry Eleanor, a ward of the king, whom he does not love. His newfound wealth excites the jealousy of his friends, who begin to plot against him with devastating consequences. It pushes all my buttons. It should work for me, and yet it did not. I found it in this pretty UK trade, or this foreign trade. I will give it another try, but if I don't, I'll go into it with an open mind. But if it doesn't work on me this time, I think I can safely say I've given it its due. And then the last book here is another big trade paperback. It's a book that I know well. I love it. I've read it many times. It's an American classic, and I don't have a copy. At the moment, I did when I saw it, I realized immediately I don't have a copy. And it's this. It's Act 1 by Moss Hart. His memoir about American stage, about directing, about his rags to riches story, and it's told with just it's an inimitable performance. Everybody knew as soon as it appeared that this is a book that you just could not be any better done for what it is, and it's tremendously enjoyable. If you're in the theater, for instance, in American theater, you have to read this book. You absolutely do, no matter how old it is. But I didn't have a copy. I saw it and I realized this is a nice trade paperback. This would actually go well in the biography section. And maybe even, it's been a couple of years since I reread it, so I might be up for a reread. That'd be good. That noise you hear in the background is Frida playing with her new toy. Somebody sent a box full of penguins, and in the box was a dog toy, and so Frida is exploring it. Although I just heard the hint of a whistle. If there's a whistle or a squeak in this thing, then it can't stay. I'm going to have to throw it away when she's asleep or something, because there's no way I'm going to put up with that. She's annoying enough with her chew toys anyway, without having something that makes noise. But anyway, yeah, I heard a squeak. Well, I'll let her enjoy it for tonight, because we're going to have wine and food and lots of conversation, so she can enjoy herself until the wee small hours, when I will tend to my demanding house guest. Since he's 19 years old, I'm assuming that he cannot hold wine, and that by 2 a.m. he will be a sopped rag, crying and laughing by turns, telling me childhood memories, that sort of thing, while I just sit there mostly sober. But I'm still anticipating a lot of fun. And I'm hoping that because he's 19, he'll bounce back quick tomorrow morning so that we can have another day full of adventures before he goes. So I don't know what tomorrow's filming will be like. No idea. Tomorrow could be iffy. But I thought that about today, and I managed to find a little window. So I'll try again tomorrow. But I'll wrap this up now. And if you have any luck, I'll see you then. Thank you, BookTube.